Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about investing in yourself in your early 20s and investments that I've made in myself in my early 20s that I think have had huge payoffs for me in my life. Sometimes when I make these kind of videos, I'm like, who am I to just be saying how people should be investing in themselves in their early 20s? So if you've never seen my face before and you're wondering why you should take advice from some random stranger on the internet, I've got two reasons that might be good for you. One, I make a lot of money for my age. I'm a top 5% earner for 23-year-olds. And two, I'm generally pretty happy with my life and what I do and how I spend my time. And I think these four investments that I've made in myself have allowed me to be able to say those two things. So I want to share them for anyone who might also want to make a lot of money for their age and be a happy person.
Baby, but you know I'm about to keep you up. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm about to teach you something.
If you're new here, hi, I'm Camilla. I'm all about living life to the fullest, and to me that means working hard so I can create the life of my dreams and playing hard so that I can enjoy it. So in this channel, you'll find content along the lines of self-development, finances, and career, but also lifestyle, beauty, and travel. If that sounds like something you're interested in, you're probably as nuanced as I am, so you might as well subscribe and stick around and we can create and live out our dream lives together. The first investment I want to talk about is therapy. Therapy has by far been the best investment I've made in myself in my early 20s, and here's why. I happen to think most adults should go to therapy at some point because all of us have some kind of childhood trauma to address. For clarity, trauma just means anything that happened to you that shouldn't have happened to you, or anything that should have happened that didn't happen, that you didn't have a chance to fully process. So yes, that could mean that you suffered some kind of abuse as a child, or it could mean you got lost in the mall one time when you were 5, and now every time you go into a mall you get a weird feeling. It could also mean that your family struggled financially sometimes, and it affected your family dynamics and therefore affected you and how you think about money or resources. At 20 years old, you probably don't know what your childhood trauma is, and that's okay, and that's something a therapist can help you figure out. And it's important to identify what your childhood traumas are because of point number 2. Therapy can help you identify your unhealthy coping skills. We develop ways to cope with things like stress or sadness or anger. Maybe you learned to cope with anger by yelling because that's what you witnessed as a child. Maybe you learn to cope with sadness by suppressing it and not talking to anyone. Therapy can give you the opportunity to learn different coping mechanisms for life's stressors, and you might find that these other coping mechanisms that you can learn through therapy are actually going to be more beneficial to you than the ones that you learned in childhood. Lastly, I believe people in their early 20s struggle sometimes with figuring out a direction in life. Struggling with direction is generally a consequence of not knowing yourself. Through going to therapy and having a professional help you get to know yourself on a deep psychological level, you can increase your self-awareness and get to know yourself in a way that you never have before, which a lot of times can help you figure out what you want to do with your life and help you feel confident in making big life decisions. For me, my experience with therapy is that my parents got divorced when I was a teenager, and when I was 20 or 21, I kind of felt like not super happy, and I wasn't really sure why. And through going to therapy, I just got a chance to unpack how their divorce affected me and figure out how to process all of the emotions that I experienced at that time, and also how it was affecting how I moved forward in my life after that point, so that I had a chance to rewrite that story kind of. And through my experience with therapy, I learned a great deal about emotional regulation, positive self-talk, and self-parenting, and also just mindfulness activities, and these are all kind of practices that I incorporate in my day-to-day life. I'm aware that mental health isn't always super accessible to everyone, so I want to provide some resources that I think would be helpful. The first is Open Path Collective. So this platform is how I signed up for therapy when I first started going. I definitely didn't have money to be checking out hundreds of dollars a month to go to therapy, but Open Path Collective connects you with therapists who are sliding scale therapists, so you can pay on a sliding scale of maybe $20 to $100 or $40 to $100 or something. I'm pretty sure I was paying like $40 for my therapy sessions. And I think you just have to pay a one-time fee of $60 to have access to their platform. And then for life, you can access sliding scale therapists wherever you are. I think that's a really great subsidized therapy option. And also, my therapist was great and was the best therapist that I've ever had when I used that platform. So would highly recommend. The second resource I would recommend is the Personal Development School. The Personal Development School is a YouTube channel that focuses on attachment theory and how it affects anyone. The focus is like primarily relationships, but it goes into like work relationships, friend relationships, family relationships. And I think it's just a great way to get a better understanding of the psychology behind a lot of this stuff and start changing how you approach mental health and relating to others or even yourself differently. Outside of YouTube, they offer paid courses on psychology-backed subconscious reprogramming that for me personally has helped me hack my subconscious mind to kind of become aware of my negative subconscious beliefs and actively change them through exercises provided in the courses. And they do offer like 30-day free trials and stuff, which is enough time to take a whole course, just saying. And the last resource that I would recommend is the Mindful Movement. The Mindful Movement is a channel on YouTube. Like, I guess this husband and wife, and they do a bunch of meditations. I found them really helpful for meditations that help with emotional regulation. If you are someone who doesn't really know where to start with just like calming yourself down when you feel upset, or working through sadness, or even addressing how you're feeling emotionally and being able to sit with that, their videos and meditations have really helped me. The next way to invest in yourself is through learning. As someone in your early 20s, you probably just don't know that much. You probably don't know that much because you just haven't had time to learn that much yet. But you probably also have time to learn those things and the ability to use time and money to invest in learning and education. In your early 20s, you probably have much more money to make ahead of you than behind you. And it's a great opportunity in your 20s to take that time to find your like money-making superpower that will help you increase your income over time. And learning doesn't necessarily have to mean going to school or taking a formalized course, even though it could. It could mean just developing a skill or taking the time to study something independently on your own. The benefits that I found with investing time and money in learning for me is that it helps me learn how to learn. I'm approaching a point where I feel like there's not much that I can't learn because I'm constantly learning and I'm developing the skill of learning, which is way more beneficial than you would think. A lot of times we think we're hired for a certain job or that we can only become a YouTuber or start a business when we're fully prepared and know everything. But most of what we do in our jobs or in any other entrepreneurial pursuits is learn. And the people that can learn the quickest or the most are the ones that end up succeeding in the long run. The second benefit is that increasing what I know has helped me increase my income drastically. I don't think that the only point of learning is to make money, but it doesn't hurt. And with learning, you can either like go fully into like, I'm gonna learn the most I can about this one subject, or you can take the opportunity to learn about different subjects. And I think doing the latter helps you find your unique combination. So for me, I went to school for linguistics in undergrad, and I got a master's in it because I was interested in this subject. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do after college, but I knew that I was super interested in linguistics. Then after I graduated, I decided to go back to school for digital marketing because I was interested in it and I thought I could make a lot of money through marketing and digital marketing. And during that time, I also on my own learned a lot about content creation, and I really think the combination of these three things is what makes me super employable. Honestly, linguistics or digital marketing or content creation on their own aren't super unique in terms of like, there's a lot of other people that can know a lot about these domains individually, but it's less common for someone to have substantial knowledge in all three of these areas, which makes someone that possesses all three of these super valuable. And I happen to think that obviously there is a slowing down point where you're focusing on so many areas of knowledge that you can't get a good enough depth in any of them. But I do think there's a sweet spot of combinations of depth and variety of like knowledge domains that, one, just like broaden who you are as a person, and two, kind of make you stand out from other competition because you just have these skills and knowledge sets that not many other people possess all at the same time. Generally, for my combinations, like if you're looking for 3 things, I tend to look for something that I just want to learn because I like learning it. I think this is really powerful because if you enjoy learning something, you're probably gonna study it more than other people will if they're just like studying it because it'll make them money or because it'll get them some degree. For me, that's content creation. I spend hours on this stuff like every week. I'm always learning something new because I just kind of can't help myself. The second thing that you learn should be something that will help you make more money. The third category of learning is like stuff that's like purely intellectual or academic or cultural. These, I think, make you a better person and also just like expand again your ability to learn new things. I don't have specific resources to recommend for learning, but I do think there's 3 different paths that you can take. So you could do structured learning, which you'll have to pay money, but it will save you time and you'll get to learn from experts. And that's like going to school or taking a course. Then there's just independent learning that usually involves YouTube Academy, just finding information organically and trying and failing and running into problems and solving it on your own. That's going to take way more time, but it'll save you money and it'll also give you like a depth and like rawness to what you learn that you won't really get in like school. The third way is just by secondhand information. So this is either like talking to people who know something about the subject, or if you can't do that, reading a book by someone who knows something about the subject. The third investment I would recommend making in your 20s is travel. In your early 20s, you probably haven't traveled that much yet, or at least traveled like without your family, which is a completely different experience. You probably have time and life freedom to travel. And again, you're probably trying to like find yourself. By exposing you to new cultures and lifestyles, I think that travel helps you to like challenge your own opinions and beliefs. And having your beliefs and opinions challenged always strengthen them by either making you realize that you don't believe it and you believe something else, or that you really do believe it even in the face of opposition. And in doing so, you build self-confidence. Travel is like one of the most powerful vehicles for self-growth. It's kind of like you're traveling outside and like to other parts of the world, but in doing so, you're coming face to face with yourself in circumstances and scenarios that you wouldn't have to at home, and it helps you get to know yourself on a deeper level. I also happen to think that by coming into contact from humans from all over, you become a better human. For me personally, I had an amazing study abroad trip in Europe in like 2019 that like sparked my passion for travel. And now, whether it's a summer in Europe or a weekend trip with my friends or some resort on a tropical beach, travel continues to bring me face to face with the fact that I'm just a teeny tiny part of this really huge, beautiful, awful world. And when I take the opportunity to step out of my like small sliver of that world and I argue with some man who doesn't speak the same language as me, or I watch the sunrise from a place that I've never been before, it just reminds me that I'm a part of this like really big thing and that there's so many ways to be a part of it. And people do life in so many ways, and I can do it however I want to. My next video is going to be all about how I travel on a budget and travel pretty often, like every other month. But for starters, I would say start local. If you've never like gone anywhere on your own, just go for a day trip somewhere in your state. I'm sure there's somewhere that you've like never been before in your own state that could be just as eye-opening as going to another continent. I would also say travel during off seasons because that makes everything cheaper, and find travel buddies that will encourage you to continue traveling, which brings me to the fourth way I think everyone should invest in themselves in their 20s, and that is by networking. I know networking gets a bad rep because it's seen as some like ill will business manipulation tactic or something, but I see networking as community building, and that can be community building in your career, but it's also community building in your personal life. It's basically just extending your network past your family or the people that you grew up with. At the end of the day, everything is fleeting, but we have ourselves and we have the people that we spend our lives with, and that is what makes life worth living and also what makes life possible to live. And at this point in your life, you probably haven't had the chance to solidify those lifelong relationships yet. yet. If you're just getting out of college and you have some friends from school that you don't want to just look back 10 years from now and be like, oh yeah, those are people I went to school with, it takes time and effort to invest in solidifying those relationships as lifelong friendships. Similarly, you probably haven't had a chance to build up your career network yet, and the relationships that you spend time building now, whether it's through getting a coffee with someone or setting time up for a chat, are gonna be what helps your career grow in the long term. And of course, romantic relationships, at some point our partner is gonna be the person that we spend the most time with for the rest of our lives. And so it's really important in your 20s to date and meet people and figure out what you like and don't like, and create the foundations for the relationships that will be the most meaningful for you for the rest of your life. So those are my 4 investments that I think are essential for anyone in their 20s to make. If you have any other ways that you've invested in yourself, please leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to know. And if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy this one right here, so go check that out. And otherwise, I will see you in another video. Bye.